Life is so much better when you have friends to connect and kiki with. And no matter how near or far you are, thank God for things like WhatsApp to always keep you together. And in this friendship, all day and all night, we send each other long as voice notes.
Every day we discuss just about everything, from what we had for dinner, to the music we like, to the men we met, to exercise, and don't forget our absolute favorite thing, Insecure. So sit back and relax as these two girls tell you everything about life, love, and all things in between. Welcome to Long AF Voice Notes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of
Long AF Voice Notes.
And we are so glad that you guys keep coming back week after week. And we are actually really excited to talk about Insecure Season 4, Episode 7, Low-Key Trippin'. Serita, we will jump right into you. What grade do you give it and why?
Wow, I thought about this a lot. And I want to give it like the highest, like a B plus, you know, like you almost had an A, but I was still missing something, but I would say B plus for me.
For sure. I'm definitely right there with you. I thought it was a well executed episode. I thought the storylines were so powerful and so great. So I'm going to stay with you and give it a B plus also. Let's jump right into it. Relationships. Give me what you got.
Wow. First of all, that's what y'all couples be doing on trips, because, you know, I was just getting accustomed to just like a life of singledom. I was like, wow, when I'm sitting next to couples on the airplane, this is what they're doing. Okay, cool. But I mentioned this before, I feel like Andrew I see more of his personality now, you know, because we always see him sort of in relation to Molly, but now we're seeing him as an individual. And like, who is this kind and understanding and patient and thoughtful? And, you know, like he really just seems like such a well-developed human being. And I think because Molly has so much going on in her life that a lot of times you can tell she doesn't address, he's like the perfect companion to her. So I thought the relationship was really well highlighted. You see them in different situations where the tension between her and his brother and how he responds to her the next morning. It was really nice. So yeah, I really like I told you, I was like, when I heard Molly was getting her own episode, I was like, she don't need a whole episode, but I really feel like she did.
Y'all be hating on my girl. And that was one of the best episodes. I'm just like, okay. I totally agree with you. It's so interesting because this is the part of the relationships that I love the most when I'm dating somebody, when you guys get to the point where you start exploring sexually because you know that you're comfortable enough with each other to do that. And to me, that's always a really exciting point, because it's like, this is when you realize you really like somebody, because you're willing to open up to them and be vulnerable, and then they don't judge you. Like, they just kind of like hear you out. So to see everything that transpired that episode between them, I just was like, I like this because they're past the honeymoon phase. They've gotten through their first 2 or 3 rifts, but now you understand that they're in a committed relationship where they're willing to work it out, like regardless of anything. And I really, really appreciated that. I think I missed those moments, like when you've made it right there with somebody, like, okay, this is somebody that I'm going to be with and that I'm going to try to fight for, basically. But I'm gonna get into their sexual everything. So that has never happened to me on a plane before. I'm not sure that is the most sanitary, because I was like, but did you wash your hands? Like, hello? But it's also so funny to see that like Molly is a little like boring, or a little just like, because he pulled out a bunch of stuff and she pulled out some matching bra and panties. And I was like, sis,
they are on very different levels.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, that's not what he meant. But I also think that at our age, when we're 30 somethings, that like you just start to explore what you like, or you just start to explore what you're comfortable letting somebody else do. So the balcony scene, I was like, but I did not like the way that they made that look. I was like, are they dancing or are they having sex? Because that was like
you never know. You see two people on the balcony now, you will literally never know what's happening.
But I was like, okay. The fact that he did bring so many pleasure toys, I was like, oh, he's a pleaser. Like he likes to please. And I think I appreciated that also because I think a lot of men miss that mark. Like, okay, but I also liked how he was okay with her being dominant. Now she was really excited when she just kept pushing him down. But the eat my booty thing, I just was like, I don't know. I just was
I
like,
didn't see that coming at all.
me either. And I was like, okay. But he did it. So I was like,
but people are into this girl. Tossing salad has been around since the 1990s and the 2000s, I think.
Exactly. And like I said, this is that point in time where you start to learn each other's what you like and what you don't like. So I just was like, okay, Andrew. One thing that I don't like is that I feel like he enables her. I feel like he lets her get away with some things when I feel like he should also call her out. Case in point, the situation that happened with his brother was really, really intense. And it shows Molly's character flaw, which is that I think she does the right things at the wrong time. But he kind of just like swept that under. And in my opinion, that's a conversation that needs to be had. That doesn't need to be, oh, let's sleep on it, because they are in an interracial relationship. And that is a big deal. Okay, it's a huge deal, especially when, you might be thinking about the future, and that conversation, which we'll talk about in other ships. But like, to me, I feel like maybe he checked his brother, but he kind of should have checked her too and been like, you didn't have to go as far as you did. The whole F you thing at the end, I was like, Molly, is too much. It's too much. Like,
but
certain things I think you can suppress until later.
But this is why people give Molly / Yvonne a hard time for this character, because it's not that her feelings aren't valid. It's not that she's not justified in being upset in certain situations. For example, like we can go into this later, but like with the assistant, like it's not that you can't adjust the situation, but it's the way that you do it. And
absolutely,
I think this goes into her not dealing with things. And so she takes it from, hey, let's have a conversation and address this, to fuck you. And it's like, oh, and you're absolutely right. And this was the thing with it's just like been happening throughout the entire episode, and the issue that she had with Issa, the blow up at the block party. He didn't say anything to her then when she says, oh, I saw Issa, and she's like, well, it's her fault, and he's just like,
yeah, I don't like it, because she needs to be checked. And I'm just like, she does need to be checked. And the thing that I didn't understand about that was that, but you made sure you checked her when she was talking about Nathan. And, when he was like, like he was going through mental health issues, and maybe you didn't know, but everything's not for you to know, but understand there was something there. And I'm like, okay, if you can correct her right then and there, you need to correct her with how she deals with situations. Also, because sooner or later he could get tired of that. That's really embarrassing. Like, this is the second time now that you have made a complete ass out of yourself in front of me. Like, that's a red flag for dudes. Like, it honestly is. So I'm just like, when are you gonna check her? Like, I'm like, I don't like that either. But also the interracial thing, like I said, those are conversations that need to be had, especially if they will be thinking about raising kids. You know what I mean? Like, and it's also like, well, if your family feels this way, how do you feel? And I'm just so shocked that they've never had that conversation before. So I just was kind of like, oh, because when he was like, well, yeah, what do you mean? And she was like, no, not you. But I'm like, oh, so the fact that he's saying that, they've never had this conversation. So I'm like, you guys are getting to a level sexually, but you guys haven't gone deep in what you needed to go through in terms of everything that happens just between you being Andrew, an Asian man, and me being Molly, a Black woman. And I'm just like, okay, so like that was just an interesting dynamic to me. But yeah, what about Issa and Nathan?
I think that's cute. I mean, it was a small blip in the episode, but I think, like, it again, like, I don't think the relationship has to be romantic. I feel like they get along. He was there for her in a time of need when her quote unquote best friend wasn't. And I feel like they have a good rapport together. I'm not mad at it because I'm team light skin. Whether or not it's Bae or not, I think he should stick around. But yeah, I thought it was cute.
I am indifferent. I'm like, but then I realized also that I'm so much like Molly when she just doesn't give people a chance. And again, we found out that Molly just found out that there was mental health issues because remember, Molly is who stopped him from coming back when he was trying to get to Issa. So Molly never knew what was going on. But I'm like, maybe there's some type of dialogue we don't know that Issa and Nathan is having. But I do think it's important for them to show that because as of right now, it just looked like he ghosted me. There was a problem. He came back and I let him back in. And I'm just like, no, like I want to see what the conversation was leading up to how did you even get into his house or what conversations are you guys having about mental health, about like what is the real conversation here? Because I'm not saying that what he went through wasn't important because it totally was, but I also think communication is key. So I'm just interested to know what their conversation is like. And I really hope that they like get into that. Because again, Issa did know that he had mental health issues. So maybe she's like, okay, I'm giving him another chance because there was this issue that happened and no, he didn't, communicate well, but I know he meant well. Like, I want to know what that is. But yeah, so.
Maybe there wasn't some deep conversation, but either way, like she's forgiven him. Like he's in her life, they're kikiing over Instagram, they're hanging out, like he shows up for her. So I think like essentially they have gotten past this ghosting and it's like until he does something else to prove her otherwise, I think she's just taking it as it goes.
I'm talking shit, but I probably would do the same thing. Because you miss being around. Honestly, you do. But I'm just like, what is the conversation? Are you guys ever going to have the conversation? Okay. Andrew's brother and his wife. Anything to say about those kooky characters?
Girl, no. They're supporting roles, and they definitely supported some of these scenes, but they were a lot. It was cute. It was just interesting to see. Also, like Andrew speaking in his native language, like I think they serve the purpose of giving more depth to Andrew's character.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were a hot mess. I wish somebody would take me on a 3-mile hike straight up. Not happening, honey.
And
no.
running though, like y'all don't know if Molly's athletic. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all?
Too much. He's like, look who showed up. Hey, sleepyhead. Like, can you chill? Like, I don't need you to be at this energy level all the time. I'm sorry, but stop.
Right. And how do you feel about taking trips with other couples?
Girl, I don't know. I've never been in a couple, so I can't tell you anything from personal experience. However, in reference to the show, I think it's nice. I mean, I see other couples taking couples trips, so I feel like it's nice. It's a nice dynamic. It would have been nicer if they had been able to spend more time together. I mean, one, we only have a 30-minute episode, but just to see maybe the women break off or the men break off and see how that goes. But I just don't think this was really a couples trip. This was like two couples that just happened to be on the same trip because they spent some time together, but Molly wanted to spend time in the room having sex. So I don't feel like they did a lot together.
Yeah. I always think it's interesting, especially because almost always couples are going to disagree. So it's like, as the other couple, you're just like, so, but yeah. All right. Is there any other relationships? Well, I think that was it.
Well, I mean, at the end, Lawrence had a little phone call.
Yeah, but it could be anybody. I'm just like, which one is it? I'm like, which one is it?
For the next episode, you know who it is.
That doesn't mean at that point in time he was calling her. He could have been calling Condola. I was just like, okay.
That doesn't track.
I was over it. I was like, whatever, Lawrence. Okay, friendships. I told y'all last review, we don't know if Molly saw her or not. And what happened? Molly saw her. So while y'all was trying to sit there and say, Molly just looking cute with her bob and kikiing away. No. She was preparing herself for what she thought could happen. What I didn't like was when she was talking to Andrew. She's like, Issa's trying to ignore me. Like, what did she say? Like the plague, or like
a real job. Like, she's so unnecessarily nasty. Like, why would you have to say that?
Exactly. And why wouldn't she want to avoid you? You just blew up at her block party and ruined the whole thing. Why do you think she would want to talk to you? That's something like, does Molly not get it? Is she in this weird realm of unrealistic things? Because I'm like, what?
I think so. I mean, at the end, you know, we saw her call her therapist, but like when Issa said she's miserable, she is miserable. And you can see the way it comes out when she interacts with other people and how she blows up so often. And I think she has some things that she needs to address. Obviously, like she said, she's holding on to stuff. She's not addressing things, and it's coming out in really nasty ways. Like that little comment. I wrote that down too. I was like, that was so unnecessary.
So wrong. I just was like, why, bro? Why? Yeah. Did you have to? That's on like all these below the belt jabs all the time. Yeah, I just was like, I knew she saw her. I was like, I knew she saw her. But I mean, I hope she felt that. She should have felt that because she was wrong. Okay, Nathan and Andrew's relationship.
They're cute. I don't know. Also, like, I mean, it was cute at first, but like now, you know, like, why are y'all still roommates? I don't know. This is just something like in the back of my mind. I'm like, all right, at first this was nice, but now can y'all have your own separate places?
Yeah, and then I was just like, why doesn't Nathan know where stuff is? Why does Andrew have to tell you that the garage door opener is in the closet? But I do like that he protects him. I also like that he has been able to keep it separate, right? So like, he doesn't bring up Nathan. He doesn't bring up Nathan and Issa. Like, he makes sure that it's completely separate. Like, listen, yes, I know that we met because of them, but I'm going to keep this separate. And I think I appreciate that too, because then like Molly gets so caught up in that stuff. And it's like, sis, you're in Mexico on a resort and you worrying about hearing Issa's voice at his house. Why is that even a part? Why are you even, you just said on his face, what is your problem? Like, I'm trying to understand. You just had balcony sex. What's going on? Like, you looking cute in all your clothes. Why are you letting this affect you? And I'm like, Molly cannot separate things. Like, she can't. Just can't. Yeah. And I'm like, but he can. And he does such a good job with this. So I'm like, okay, Andrew. Okay. But yeah. Other ships. Where should we start?
Girl, I love Kim Fields was so perfect for this role of this kooky woman who was separated from her. I love it's just her. Like, I don't even think she was acting. Like, that's just her. I loved her. She was hilarious. I hope she comes back.
Love that Issa brings back the people who she watched on TV who like made a big impact, because Kyla from last week, we know that Cole was losing LaToya or finding LaToya's daddy, and then now Kim Fields. And I was like, I just love that these people who we love and adore, because I mean, yes, her name is Kim Fields, but we will always call her Regine. And I'm just like, I'm glad that these people make these cameos in all of these shows. But she was crazy as hell. I just was like, what?
I love her. But also the looking for LaToya in Spanish, like they are really paying attention to the details in these episodes, because I love this voiceover with the dubbing. I was like, this is amazing.
I was too done. But also, I was glad that they showed people traveling at our age, because I feel like we do, and we do a lot more. And it just showed that narrative. It's so funny because every single resort in Mexico looks exactly the same. I was like, was I just there in January? And I was like, this looks like, and I was like, I don't know what it does, but they all look the same. So that made me laugh. But the part when Molly goes to get a towel, let me know how you felt about that. I've heard so many different reactions. So let's just talk about first Molly's interaction with the lady. Let's start there.
I mean, I felt like she didn't approach her with an attitude. You know, you see the white couple in front of her get 2 towels. We don't walk up as soon as they walk up, so we don't know what could have transpired, but what I did think during that interaction was like, okay, the woman's asking you for a room key. Obviously, you looking bad in your one piece. You don't have it on you. Why don't you just say, I'm in room such and such. The name is this. Like, I feel like as soon as a woman asks her for a room key, she's like, why? And yes, maybe she didn't ask the couple in front of her, but I just feel like, again, Molly, there are levels. Like, you could have taken before you went all the way up here. But at the end, I don't know if you noticed, but the woman didn't give her the towel. She tried to hand it to Andrew's brother. I don't remember his name. So that I felt like, obviously, you felt some kind of way. And that was like a shady little unnecessary part of the scene. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
I agree with you. We didn't see what happened first, so how do we know? As Black women, okay, what a lot of people don't understand is we have had to endure so much everything. And unfortunately, there are those times where I feel like we overreact without really thinking about the situation, or again, without letting it affect us to the point where it ruins our whole vacation, right? So she could have definitely handled that situation, but I would have just been petty and would have been like, ma'am, this is an all-inclusive resort. Apparently, I can't just come from America and sneak into this resort. So I am here and I'm in room da-da-da-da-da. But I wouldn't have been as you know what I mean? Because for one, I'm always very conscious of how people already view me as being a Black woman. As being a Black woman with a banging ass body, they already think that I think that I'm the shit. Like, there's so many preconceived notions that people have about Black women that I'm like, I'm not going to feed into what you already think if you do think this. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to be polite. Then when you leave, you make sure to get her name and you speak about that to the manager. And that's the way you take care of those situations. So it just was like a lot. I don't think I would ever snatch anything from her. I think I would take it, look at her, just be like, and then turn around and walk away. You will feel it in other ways. So I was like, Molly, like, why are you feeding into this? Like, this girl's not a factor. You're on vacation and she's serving you. Like, it's just like, bro, why? So then to take it back to when they get back to the pool, what are your thoughts?
I mean, what is Andrew's brother's name? I don't know, but he's a lot. Like, he is just his face, like, just got on my nerves. And I feel like when people say, "Let me play devil's advocate," you already know that you need to be slapped because it's just so unnecessary. Like, okay, and there are these moments. And I feel Molly on this, where somebody rubs you the wrong way, someone gets you in a bad mood, and you just need a moment to have a stank face, and then you let it go. You don't need someone else jumping in. But what about this? Well, maybe if you, I don't need this right now. Like, you can already tell that I'm annoyed. Like, why would you continue to poke? And so it was just so like and this is the way that people are. Like, people are like this when they don't understand where you're coming from like, you feel like someone did something to you that was because of your race. And like she said, like, you only call yourselves people of color, consider yourselves people of color when it benefits you, which I felt was really inappropriate. But historically, this is kind of how it is. But I don't know if I would have said that at that moment. Because even the wife was like, oh, now we're going there. Like, it could have been avoided if the dude just shut up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what he was saying, because it's causing Molly to think now, like, how do you approach situations and why do you approach it this way? But also, they don't know each other like that now. That's not information that you should be telling me. Maybe Andrew tells me that after we go back to the room that night, like, hey, like, I noticed this and whatever, but that was not his brother's place to say. Molly was already pissed off, so you don't know her. All you're doing is adding salt to the wound, right? But also, some of the things that Molly said were pretty fucked up also. My homegirl, of course, hits me up yesterday, and she's like, what? She's like, what is it between Asians and Blacks? And I was like, there's nothing between us. I was like, but there is a conversation that will always come up about indentured servitude, slavery, Japanese internment camps. And then, of course, also, this is Asian Heritage Month, right? So I was like, oh, they did all of this during these times. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So I think the fact that these things came up during this time was probably really strategic. I don't know. I would hate to think, oh, it just fell on this place. I think they were being really strategic, but there is this constant conversation with anybody who has been oppressed with, oh, well, either we're on the same level or, you know, you can't say that we're not. And like, I love it because Amanda Seales calls it the Oppression Olympics. And she's like, everybody want to be a part of the Oppression Olympics. But as Black people, we're like, we were enslaved for 400 years. Y'all was enslaved for 5 years. Like, I'm not taking away the fact that horrible things happen to your people, but understand my whole culture is built off of slavery. Like, let's be honest, right? So it's such an interesting dynamic and topic to have. But again, this is something that I felt like Molly and Andrew should have been talked about. Well, how do you feel about race? Well, how do you feel about this? Because they would have came out then also. So I was sitting there like,
I feel like it's super unlikely that like two people in an interracial relationship who have been dating for several months have never actually had a conversation about race. Like, I just can't foresee this being true to a real relationship. Like, you get to the level where you're going on a trip together with someone's family and you've never discussed like your thoughts about race. Like, come on, like this is very unlikely.
it was interesting, right? I just was like, I don't know. Other ships. Let's talk about this ship that I think that is finna sail. So we see Lawrence at the end, like you said. I don't know if y'all caught the fact that he was coming from San Francisco. I work in San Francisco in the FIDI, born and raised in the Bay Area. Lawrence is in tech. And I was like, first things first, he went on a job interview. And I was like, he about to tell Issa he's out. Secondly, that's why he wasn't at the block party. I realized that too, because I said, oh gosh. So like the day after, Issa sees Molly in the Ethiopian restaurant, but when she gets back home, she starts packing, and then the next day they leave for their trips. I'm like, this is 2 days after the block party. And I remember I was like, Lawrence, where was you at? Lawrence is in San Francisco taking care of his next career steps because the dudes are trying to play him at his job. He about to be out of here. So I don't know if he was talking to Condola. I don't know if he was talking to Issa, but we know that he probably about to be like, I'm moving to San Francisco.
But we know for sure he wasn't talking to Condola, girl. We
don't know that. We don't know that.
Their relationship is done. It's dead in the water. There's no reason for her to come back. She's gone. Bye.
Maybe not. I don't know. What you think? And if he does move to San Francisco, what do you think? How does that make you feel?
You're bye.
Like, bye.
See you. It was nice knowing you. You look good, girl. He had the fresh fade. He obviously been working out, but moving on. I don't know. I feel like I'm like at this point, I'm over it. Like, I feel like if they were going to get back together, it shouldn't have taken this long and this many detours along, you know, like, I don't know. In the episode, Issa's hanging out with Nathan, so I don't think she's really thinking and checking for Lawrence. He didn't show up to the block. You know, like, these are little things pushing you towards the realization that maybe their lives are just meant to be separate. And also, it was super weird the way that he interacted with Molly. Like, I know it's like a friend of your ex, but why do you guys act like you barely know each other? That was so uncomfortable to watch them at the airport together. I was like, okay.
I mean, he also didn't get her Full House reference, and I was like, that shouldn't have been awkward. Like, we all watched Full House. As soon as he said it, we were like, Mary-Kate and Ashley. And I was just like, okay, but also, again, I was born and raised here, so I got the reference. Whatever. Back to the airport scene. For those of you guys who don't know, that was Jay Ellis's real mom, who was the flight attendant waiting for Molly to come, and I just love that they put their parents in there. And he also directed that episode, so that's why we see him in the cameo at the end. Fashion. Molly looked so good. I was just like, yes, with every single scene. I just thought it was So beautiful. And I love it because it's a natural body. And I'm just like, yes, like you can have your boobs and your booty or your lack of boobs or your lack of booty and your pretty face and just cute clothes. And even in the opening scene, she had on these MCM boots. And I was like, girl, where you got them boots from? But I like always notice those things. But I love how they dress Molly. And I love the exchange of the two couples when they were dancing and both of their dresses and how they were just dancing with each other. That made me really happy. Like, that is like a couples trip that I would like to take if we're doing that. So yeah, but I'm trying to think. Any other ships you got?
No, I don't know. I can't think of any. It was a very skeleton cast this episode, but yeah, I appreciated an inside look into Molly and Andrew's relationship, as well as like Molly finally coming to terms with the fact that she needs to address her issues. And I think both her and Issa have had a moment in their own individual episodes where they realize, like, okay, while I am growing, I still need to address something. So we'll see if this pays off at some point before the season ends to address the issues in their relationship. Yeah, I mean, you were right. I think we're also like predicting a lot of things for these upcoming episodes. Like, if anyone wants to watch us take bets and see like how right we are with our predictions for the upcoming episode, but you predicted that she did see her. And wow, I wonder what would have happened if she had gone in. Because that's also like not an appropriate place for you to address your issues. But man, now that I know she saw her, I kind of wish she went
in. It's too soon. And technically it's just 2 days after. Technically it's now maybe 6 to 7 days after. So who knows what'll happen next week.
We do know what will happen next week because Issa and Lawrence are gonna meet up for drinks. Some big news coming that he's leaving.
Bye. Like you said, bye. Okay, well, if you guys want to follow us on social media, Serita, let them know.
Ooh, on Instagram at Long AF Voice Notes, and on Twitter, Long AF Voice Note, singular. And we're also on YouTube, so you can watch our videos and you can listen to us everywhere that podcasts are available.
Yep. And our personal ones, you can find me at Marty_San Diego.
And at Serita Braxton.
And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye.